Most women over 60 grew up hearing that self-pleasure was wrong, dirty, or something good girls don't do. But men? Oh, that was expected. Female masturbation was either whispered about in shame or not spoken of at all, while male masturbation was treated as completely normal. Why such a difference? And does that way of looking at things really make sense? Why were we taught that women's self-pleasure is bad, while men's is natural? Isn't that a deeply unbalanced and unfair view? Maybe you've felt this in your own life. Was talking about self-pleasure ever acceptable in your youth? One of the wonderful women in this circle, Victoria, shared a story with me just yesterday. She said she grew up in a family full of shame. She didn't even look at her own body until she was 15, and when she finally did, she felt like she was doing something wrong. Just looking at yourself naked as a woman and feeling guilt, is that really the world we want to live in? Victoria also said it took her years to believe she deserved to feel good about her own sexual pleasure. And she gave me the beautiful suggestion of making a video about child abuse, which I will cover soon. So if you're interested in videos like this, and you want to change the connection you have with your own body, I invite you to subscribe and engage with this channel. It means a lot to me. Engagement can be as simple as liking, saving, or commenting if you have something on your heart. Please know this is a safe space for strong women, connecting through experiences we had to keep silent for so many years. Now, if it feels right for you, it's time to open up. Because when something is never spoken of, the silence itself becomes a message. This must be shameful. For many of us, that silence turned into guilt. Some of us were told that touching ourselves was sinful. Others were simply left in the dark, never taught that our bodies were capable of pleasure at all. The result? Decades of women carrying questions we were too embarrassed to ask. And here's what makes this even more powerful. The difference isn't only social. Biologically, the effect of masturbation on a woman's brain is very different from what happens in a man's. In this video, we're going to completely change the way you think about masturbation. We'll explore those differences together, the biology, the brain science, and the cultural scripts that made women feel their desire had to be hidden. And by the end of this video, I'll share a message that can change the way you see masturbation forever. So stay with me, give these 15 minutes to yourself, you deserve to know the full truth. So let's talk about what really happens inside the body when a woman touches herself. Because here's the truth, the experience is not the same for women and men, neither biologically nor emotionally. For men, masturbation is usually described as a release, quick, focused, and often centered on one clear goal. But women's bodies tell a different story. Our arousal builds more gradually. Desire can rise, fade, and rise again. Pleasure isn't just a straight line, it can feel like waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes intense, sometimes surprising, and orgasm itself isn't always the end point. For many women, the beauty lies in the journey, in the sensations along the way. Now here's where it gets fascinating. When women orgasm, it isn't just a spark in the brain, it's a firework display. Think about that for a moment. 30-30. The part of the brain that processes body sensations, the insula, lights up like a lantern. That could explain why so many women describe pleasure, not just in one place, but in their whole body. And here's another piece that's truly remarkable. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that worries, second-guesses, overthinks, actually shuts down. Imagine that. The mental chatter that follows us through most of the day finally quiets. For some women, that's why self-pleasure feels not only physical, but profoundly mental, almost like a release of the spirit, as well as the body. Yes, men's brains also release feel-good chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. But their brain activity remains more stable and concentrated. The pleasure is real, of course it is, but usually more focused and shorter-lived. Women's experience is broader, deeper, and more varied. That doesn't make it better or worse, it makes it ours. And that matters, because when you understand that your body was built for this kind of pleasure, the shame begins to crack. For women, masturbation isn't only about climax or speed, it can be about soothing stress, it can be about rediscovering your body after years of silence, it can be about remembering that you are alive, vibrant, and worthy of joy. Let that sink in. Your brain, your body, your very biology was designed to give you this kind of release. So why, with such extraordinary evidence in our favor, were we told for so long that women's pleasure was wrong? That's the question we'll explore next. Now that we know how extraordinary a woman's body truly is, we have to ask the hard question, why were we told it was wrong? Because shame doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's taught, reinforced, and passed down. For many of us, it began with religion. Generations of women were told that touching themselves was sinful, a mark of weakness, or even a threat to their purity. While men's release was excused as natural, women were held to a higher, harsher standard. Desire was something to suppress, not something to honor. Medicine played its part too. A few centuries ago, doctors warned that masturbation could ruin health, cause infertility, or even bring on madness. All nonsense, of course, but those myths were printed in medical texts and spread through families like gospel. And once fear takes root, it's hard to pull out. And here's something else that shaped this silence. When a man has an orgasm, there's no mystery. He ejaculates, something comes out, and you can clearly see it happened. And because sperm can cause pregnancy, young people were at least taught about it, because it was considered important to prevent a baby. But women, our orgasms leave no obvious evidence. Nothing comes out, and it isn't required for reproduction. That made it easy for society, for medicine, even for sex education, to dismiss it as unnecessary. Some of us even grew up thinking, if nothing happens, does that mean it isn't real? Or worse, does it mean we're supposed to fake it? Then there was silence. Families didn't talk about self-pleasure. Schools didn't teach it. Women's bodies were reduced to reproduction, while pleasure was erased altogether. Think about it. Most of us never even heard the word clitoris growing up, let alone learned its purpose. When something is never spoken of, the message is clear, it must be shameful. And the culture around us didn't help. Men's sexual jokes were shrugged off, while women who admitted to desire were ridiculed. Even in media, men's masturbation was treated with humor, women's with disbelief or disgust. A whole world of double standards, quietly teaching us to disconnect from our own bodies. No wonder so many women still whisper even to themselves, "Am I bad for wanting this?" But here's the truth, and I want you to hear this clearly. That shame was planted in us. It never belonged to us. Our bodies were built for connection and for joy. And when we begin to question those old scripts, we open the door to something life-changing, reclaiming what was always ours. And speaking of reclaiming, let's talk about what society never told us, the surprising benefits of women's self-pleasure that go far beyond just feeling good. Before I dive into the benefits, I want to tell you something important. At the end of this video, I'll share something truly powerful, a simple mindset ritual that can help dissolve years of guilt and turn self-pleasure into something sacred. It's a secret I've seen change the way women connect with themselves forever. So don't miss that. Now let's finally talk about what no one told us. Because self-pleasure is not just about a moment of pleasure, it carries benefits for your body, your mind, and even your relationships. First, the physical side. When a woman touches herself and reaches orgasm, her body releases a cocktail of natural chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. These are the very same chemicals that reduce stress, ease anxiety, and lift mood. They're sometimes called the happy hormones, and they're your body's way of helping you feel lighter and calmer. For many women, that release makes it easier to fall asleep, or to wake up feeling more refreshed. There's also circulation. Orgasms increase blood flow in the pelvic area, which helps with lubrication and can ease vaginal dryness, a common frustration after menopause. Some women notice that regular self-pleasure keeps their tissues healthier and more responsive. It's not about replacing intimacy, it's about keeping your body alive and awake to sensation. And this is what will shock you the most, the way it supports desire. Many women find that when they stop engaging with their own pleasure, their overall sexual appetite begins to fade. It's not because the body has stopped working, it's simply because we lose touch with what feels good. Self-pleasure can reignite that spark, not only for yourself, but also in partnered intimacy. Knowing your body makes it easier to communicate your needs, and often it brings couples closer rather than further apart. Now let's look at the emotional benefits, because they're just as important. For women who grew up in silence, masturbation can be a form of reclaiming the body. It can help you say, "This is mine, I deserve to feel good in it." That shift from guilt to acceptance can transform the way you carry yourself, the way you look in the mirror, even the way you connect with others. And here's something even more powerful. Research shows that women who explore their own pleasure report higher levels of sexual satisfaction overall. not because self-pleasure replaces a partner, but because they have a clearer sense of what works for them. Think of it as learning your own map, so when you do share intimacy, you don't have to stumble in the dark. But maybe you're wondering, can there be too much, or can there be something wrong about it? That's the next question we need to explore, because balance matters, and so does listening to your own body. Let's pause here and rethink what we saw until now. For decades, women were told that self-pleasure was harmful or pointless. But when we look at the science, when we listen to our bodies, the story is completely different. It isn't harmful, it's healing. Now we've come to almost the most important part of this video. What's wrong about masturbation? Can there be too much? And are we as women at risk of becoming addicted once we open ourselves up to this feeling? These are real fears, and they deserve to be spoken out loud. Because many of us grew up with warnings whispered into our ears, warnings that touching ourselves would drain our energy, harm our health, or make us less feminine. Those fears left deep marks, and for some women, they still echo today. So let's look at the truth. The horror stories we were told, they were myths. Masturbation doesn't ruin your health. It doesn't make you less of a woman. What it can do, just like any pleasure in life, is lose its balance if we lean on it too heavily. Here's what science actually shows. Some women who use very strong external stimulation, like vibrators on the highest setting, may notice other types of touch, feel less intense for a short time. But this isn't permanent. The body is adaptable, and sensitivity comes back when you change things up. Around the menstrual cycle, some women notice that self-pleasure close to their period can make PMS symptoms feel stronger, while others find it eases cramps and mood swings. This isn't danger, it's just how our hormones naturally rise and fall. So, can there be too much? The answer is not in the number, but in the balance. If self-pleasure begins replacing the things that make life rich, your friendships, your hobbies, intimacy with your partner, then it's a sign to pause and ask, what am I really craving? Because often it's not more orgasm the body is asking for, it's more connection, more comfort, more presence, and that's a very different need. So no, women are not doomed to addiction just because we allow ourselves to feel pleasure. What we are is human, and humans need balance. And now we come to the last part, and trust me, you want to stay with this, because this final piece is where everything we've talked about comes together. The science, the shame, the benefits. In just a moment, I'll share a practice that can completely transform the way you think about self-pleasure. It's simple, it's powerful, and for many women, it has been life-changing. So let's talk about that practice. Because after years of silence, the most powerful thing we can do is not just allow pleasure, but honor it. Self-pleasure doesn't have to remain a guilty secret in the dark. It can become a ritual of self-respect, a way of telling your body, you are safe, you are worthy, and you belong to me. Here's how it can look. Before you even touch yourself, pause for a moment, breathe deeply, place your hands gently on your heart or your belly, and set an intention. Not about climax, not about performance, simply about connection. Words like, I deserve this, I am safe in my body, I am worthy of joy. This tiny shift changes everything. Suddenly it's no longer about whether you should or shouldn't. It becomes an act of care, almost like meditation. Some women find it beautiful to prepare the space, lighting a candle, putting on soft music, or using warm oil as Ayurveda has suggested for centuries. And there are also a few products that can make this experience not only more enjoyable, but healthier for your body. If you've never tried a vibrator, I truly encourage you to consider it. It can help you discover new sensations and awaken areas of your body that may have felt quiet for years. A good lubricant is also essential, especially after menopause, when dryness can make touch uncomfortable instead of pleasurable. And for daily care, even outside of intimacy, a vaginal moisturizer is something every woman deserves. It keeps your tissues nourished, comfortable, and ready to respond when you want them to. I've linked my trusted recommendations for all three, a vibrator, a lubricant, and a vaginal moisturizer in the description below. These are not luxuries, they are tools every woman deserves to have in her self-care routine. And when you approach self-pleasure this way, something powerful begins to happen. The guilt softens, the voice that says this is wrong starts to fade, and a new voice grows stronger. This is mine. Think about that for a moment. For decades, many of us carried shame that never belonged to us. But here, in the safety of your own hands, you can rewrite the story. Self-pleasure stops being a forbidden act and becomes a practice of healing, a way of softening stress, of reconnecting with yourself, of honoring your body not as a stranger, but as a home. And the truth is, this is not only about pleasure, it's about dignity, about reclaiming the connection to your body that silence tried to erase. So if you take just one message from this video, let it be this: your body was never wrong for wanting pleasure. What was wrong were the stories that told you otherwise. And now at this stage of your life, you have the wisdom and the strength to write a new story, one rooted in truth, kindness, and freedom. Now I would love to hear from you. Has shame shaped the way you see your body? If you feel comfortable, share in the comments how you are learning to reconnect with yourself. When one woman speaks, another feels less alone. This is a circle, a community of women supporting each other, and your voice matters. And if this video touched you, please subscribe, like, or share it with another woman who deserves to hear these words, because the more we open up, the more we heal together. After all these years, the truth is simple: your pleasure was never something to hide, it was always your right.